Two brothers born of same parents, lived and grew up together, attended same schools in the same neighborhood, even went as far as choosing the same life careers and earning almost the same income all through their life. At 65, one brother has $2.2 million saved, a house with no mortgage, and zero financial stress. He travels when he wants, helps his grandkids with college, and never thinks twice about a restaurant bill. The other brother has $320,000 saved, a mortgage with 10 years left, and works part-time at a hardware store because Social Security doesn't cover his bills. Every month he's calculating whether he can afford his medication and his property taxes at the same time. Same blood, same upbringing, same earning power, but completely different lives. And the gap didn't open in their 20s when both were too broke to matter financially. It didn't open in their 30s when both were still building. It didn't open in their 50s when the damage was already done. It opened entirely in their 40s. One brother made a series of decisions that decade that seemed small at the time. The other made different decisions that also seemed small. Neither realized they were writing the entire story of their financial future. That's the part that should keep you up at night. Because these decisions don't feel big when you're making them. They feel like normal life. Today, I'm going to show you exactly why your 40s carry more financial weight than any other decade, what decisions separate a comfortable retirement from a stressed one, and what you can do right now, regardless of your age, to make sure you end up on the right side of this divide. Let me start with why your 40s are different. Because there's actual math behind it. Your 40s sit at the intersection of three financial forces that only line up once in your life. The first force is peak earning power. For most professionals, income hits its highest point somewhere between 42 and 55. The big salary jumps of, your 30s slow down, but the actual dollars are higher than they've ever been. A 45-year-old earning $120,000 has more raw material to build wealth with than at any point in their career. The second force is compounding time. At 40, you still have 20 to 25 years before retirement. At historical market returns, a dollar invested at 40 becomes roughly $4 by 65. At 50, that same dollar becomes about $2.50. At 55, it becomes about $2. The multiplier drops fast. Your 40s are the last decade where compounding still has the runway to seriously change your retirement number. A dollar invested at 42 works almost twice as hard as a dollar invested at 52. The third force is expense stabilization. By your 40s, many of the costs that were growing every year in your 30s start leveling off. Kids become more independent. The house fits the budget now. The wardrobe is built. For the first time, there's real margin between what you earn and what you have to spend. The question is whether that margin builds wealth or gets absorbed by a bigger lifestyle. Three forces, same decade, one window. The person who captures this alignment builds real wealth. The person who lets it pass faces a math problem that cannot be fixed later. Let me show you exactly what this looks like in numbers. Take someone who turns 40 with $100,000 saved. They earn $110,000 a year and can realistically save 15%. That's $16,500 annually. If they save that 15% consistently from 40 to 65 in diversified index funds at 8% annual returns, they retire with approximately $1.35 million. Add Social Security on top of that. They're free. If instead they only save 5% in their 40s, then get serious at 50 and jump to 15%. Same income, same returns. They retire with around $780,000. That's $570,000 less for doing the exact same thing, just starting 10 years later. Now, take a third scenario. This person barely contributes in their 40s. Just 2%. Life got expensive. They plan to make it up later. At 50, they go aggressive. 20% straight to retirement. They end up with about $590,000. They saved at a higher rate in their 50s than the first person did in their 40s. They worked harder at it, and they still came up $760,000 short. The decade you choose to be serious was already decided by math. It's your 40s. There is no substitution. So what are the actual decisions that create this gap? Let me walk through each one, and I want you to notice how reasonable every single one of them sounds. The housing decision. Your 40s bring a strong pull toward upgrading your home. The kids need more space. You've earned something that reflects where you are in life. The payments feel manageable at your income level, so a family upgrades from a $350,000 home to a $600,000 home. Monthly housing cost goes up by $1,500 to $2,000. Feels tight, but doable. Here's what nobody calculates in that moment. That extra $1,800 a month, no longer going into investments compounded over 25 years? That's somewhere between $900,000 and $1.3 million in retirement wealth. They didn't just buy a nicer house, they spent over $1 million in future money on square footage. And to cover the new payment, most families do what feels natural. They trim retirement contributions. 15% becomes 8, 8 becomes 5. It's temporary, they tell themselves. It usually isn't. The family that stays in the modest house and redirects that monthly difference into their portfolio ends up with options the other family never gets. Retire earlier, work part-time instead of full-time, help their kids, absorb emergencies without their whole financial life shaking. That is what real financial freedom looks like. Not the house. The vehicle decision. Your 40s are when the practical cars start feeling beneath you. You've been responsible your whole life. Surely at this point you can drive something you actually enjoy. A family running two $45,000 vehicles instead of two $28,000 vehicles has more auto debt, higher insurance, and more expensive maintenance. Over a full replacement cycle through your 40s and into your 50s, that vehicle premium typically costs between $200,000 and $400,000 in retirement wealth. A car gets you from point A to point B. So does a car that costs $700 less per month. The destination is the same. The retirement account is not. The education decision. Your 40s typically include the most expensive child-rearing years. Teenagers. Sports. College prep. Then tuition. Some families take on Parent Plus loans exceeding $100,000 to send kids to prestigious schools. Others stop contributing to retirement entirely during the college years. Others cash out investment accounts to cover tuition bills. Every one of these decisions trades the parents' retirement security for the children's education. And here's the problem with that trade. Your kids graduate into their peak earning years with 40 years ahead of them. You enter your 50s with a depleted account and 15 years left. Your kids can take a loan. You cannot borrow back the compounding years you gave away. The families who handle this well make uncomfortable calls. State schools, merit scholarships, kids contributing through part-time work, retirement contributions that stay on even when the college bills create pressure to turn them off. These conversations are hard. The math behind them isn't. The career decision. This is the decision most people never even think of as a financial decision. Your 40s are your last real window for income acceleration. Companies recruit you for senior roles. Startups offer equity. Other industries want your experience and will pay seriously for it. But most people become more risk-averse right at this moment. They have seniority, comfort, relationships built over years. Starting over feels like going backward. The income gap between staying comfortable and pursuing growth can be $30,000 to $40,000 per year. Over a decade, that's $300,000 to $400,000 in additional earnings that could have built wealth. By 50, age discrimination in hiring starts becoming a real factor. The strategic career move you make at 43 leaves you time to recover if it doesn't work. The same move at 53 doesn't. The window for income acceleration closes quietly, and most people don't notice until it's already gone. The lifestyle inflation decision. This one doesn't come as a single decision. It comes as 50 small ones spread across a decade. Your friends renovate their kitchens, neighbors buy boats, colleagues post vacation photos from places that cost real money. Your income is finally strong enough to keep up. Why shouldn't you live a little? The family that holds their lifestyle at the level that felt comfortable in their late 30s, even as their income grows, ends up with a fundamentally different retirement than the family that lets spending expand to match the peer group. The difference in retirement wealth between these two paths typically exceeds $1 million, from small, invisible, completely reasonable decisions. Let me show you how this plays out in real life. David and Christine were 40 years old with $185,000 saved, a home worth $300,000 to $20,000, two kids ages 12 and 9, and a combined income of $165,000. A solid position by any measure. David pushed to upgrade their home. A nicer neighborhood, $575,000. Christine had hesitations but eventually agreed. Monthly costs jumped by $1,650. To manage it, they cut retirement contributions from 15% down to 6%. Temporary, they told themselves. 2 years later, David's car needed major repairs. They decided to upgrade instead. Monthly expenses climbed again. Christine's car followed a year later. High school brought private coaching, test prep, and college costs. When their oldest got into an out-of-state university, they took a Parent Plus loan rather than asking her to pick something more affordable. None of. These decisions felt irresponsible. Every single one made sense at the time. At 50, their retirement accounts held $240,000. Only $55,000 more than they'd had at 40, despite a decade of contributions and a decade of market growth. They spent their 50s in full catch-up mode, maxed everything, cut expenses. At 65, they had $685,000. They ran the retirement projections. They'd likely run out of money by 82. They'd need to sell the house, cut their lifestyle dramatically, or work well into their 70s. Now let me tell you about Robert and Jennifer. Robert and Jennifer at 40, $165,000 saved, combined income of $155,000, two kids ages 11 and 8. Almost the same starting point as David and Christine. Robert brought up the house upgrade. Jennifer pushed back. She understood what that monthly difference would compound to over 25 years, and she wouldn't let them make that trade without really seeing the number. They stayed in their current home, the $1,650 they would have added to a mortgage. Payment went into their investment accounts instead. When Robert's car needed replacing, he bought a certified pre-owned vehicle. When college arrived, they had direct conversations with their kids about cost. Both children ended up at state schools with merit scholarships. Robert and Jennifer maintained their retirement contributions through all of it. During their 40s, they felt the social pressure. Their lifestyle looked modest against their peer group. They said no to things their friends were doing. At 50, they had $580,000 saved, more than triple their starting balance. At 65, they had $1.65 million. House paid off, full retirement, complete financial freedom. Here's what I find most striking about these two couples. Research consistently shows that lifestyle upgrades provide a happiness boost that lasts about 18 to 24 months. Then the brain adapts. The new house becomes just the house. The nicer cars become just the cars. David and Christine didn't actually enjoy their 40s more than Robert and Jennifer. They just spent more. The extra spending bought temporary comfort and permanently changed the shape of their remaining lives. The discomfort of staying disciplined through your 40s lasts 1 decade. The reward lasts 30 years. The pleasure of lifestyle inflation lasts 2 years. The consequence lasts 30 years. Let me give you specific direction based on where you are right now. If you're in your 20s or 30s, you have the gift of knowing what's coming before it gets here. The pressure your 40s will bring is real, and most people don't see it until they're already in it. Build automatic retirement contributions now and make a rule that you never reduce them. Decide what enough looks like before your income makes excess feel normal. If you're entering your 40s, you are standing at the most important financial inflection point of your life. Audit every major expense category right now. Is your housing appropriately sized, or are you carrying more house than your retirement plan can afford? Are your vehicles transportation or status? Is retirement being funded before lifestyle is being expanded? Every yes to lifestyle right now is a no to options later. If you're in your late 40s and you recognize yourself in the wrong story, you still have time to shift. Consider downsizing your home now rather than in retirement, selling expensive vehicles, pursuing the higher-paying job even if it requires starting over somewhere. Every percentage point you add to your savings rate from this point forward changes the outcome. The window is smaller, but it's not closed. If you're already past your 40s with less saved than you need, focus on what's still within your control. Delay Social Security as long as possible. Waiting from 62 to 70 can increase your monthly benefit by up to 76%. Work a few years longer if your health allows. Downsize housing to unlock equity. These moves are still real. Use them. There's something underneath all of this that needs to be said. By the time your 40s arrive, you've been working hard for 20 years, you've sacrificed, you've been responsible. And a voice starts getting louder that says, when does the enjoyment actually start? Haven't I earned the right to live a little? That feeling isn't wrong. It's completely human. But here's what nobody tells you when you're standing in that feeling. The gratification you're looking for doesn't live in the house upgrade or the car upgrade. It visits for a year or two, then it leaves. And you're left with the payment and a smaller retirement account. The real gratification, the kind that doesn't fade, is what Robert and Jennifer have at 70. It's waking up every morning knowing your bills are covered, your savings are intact, and an unexpected expense doesn't threaten everything you built. It's the freedom that comes from having done the hard thing during the one decade that actually mattered. Picture yourself at 70. In one version of that morning, you're deciding which month to travel, helping your grandkids, living without financial anxiety. In the other, you're calculating whether this month's check covers everything. You're working a job you didn't plan to need. You're lying awake doing math. Both of those people made their 40s decisions decades earlier. Both are living with the result. The decade of decisions created a gap that a decade of correction could not close. And both brothers felt like they were making reasonable choices the whole time. Your 40s will pass either way. The only question is what version of 70 you're building while they do. That's not a threat. It's an opportunity. What you do with it is entirely up to you.